Let's talk about what happens when you live your life chasing results. It sounds noble at first, doesn't it? We tell ourselves, if I can just get this job, if I can just hit that number, if I can just be recognized by that group, then I'll finally feel whole. But the danger in that mindset is subtle. It convinces us that our worth is tied to the outcome rather than the effort. And when life is reduced to outcomes, it becomes a constant state of tension, of restlessness, of measuring ourselves against some standard that is always moving. Results are like a mirage in the desert. They glimmer from a distance. But the closer you think you get, the more they shift. You chase, but you never arrive. And that's the illusion of result-driven living. Think about it. Results don't last. That big moment of recognition you worked so hard for, someone else will break the record. Someone else will take the title. Someone else will get the applause tomorrow. And suddenly, what felt like victory today becomes irrelevant tomorrow. If you live only for results, you are a slave to something that cannot sustain you. That's why people reach milestones they thought would make them happy, only to feel empty inside. They climbed the mountain, only to realize the summit was smaller than they imagined. But when you fall in love with the work, everything changes. Because the work is not fleeting. The work is what builds you when nobody's watching. The work is what stretches your mind, your body, your spirit, and forces you to grow. Results don't shape you. Work does. And when you make the process your obsession, you are no longer a prisoner of outcomes. You are free to pour yourself fully into the moment, to give your best without the weight of constant comparison. Now, let me press a little deeper here. Psychologically, when you tie your identity to results, you are placing your worth in something external and fragile. That means when the results are favorable, you feel good about yourself. But when the results don't come, your sense of value collapses. That's why so many people live on an emotional roller coaster, riding high when life affirms them, crashing down when it doesn't. But when your obsession is with the work, your sense of worth is internal. It's rooted in effort, in discipline, in commitment. You no longer live for applause, you live for growth, and that is unshakable. Philosophically, results are nothing more than timestamps. They are snapshots of where your work happened to lead in a given moment. But they don't tell the whole story of who you are becoming. Results show up on the surface. The work transforms in the depths. And it's in the depths where true meaning resides. When you live only for outcomes, you're playing on the surface of life. When you commit to the process, you're digging into the soil of who you are, planting seeds that will continue to grow long after the crowd has moved on. And let me add this. Obsession with results steals the present from you. Instead of being alive to what you're doing right now, your mind is always racing ahead to the prize, the recognition, the finish line. You miss the beauty of the journey because you're fixated on the destination. But life is not lived at the destination. Life is lived step by step, day by day, moment by moment. To despise the work is to despise life itself. To obsess over results is to forfeit the joy of becoming. So what does it mean to break free from this illusion? It means waking up each day and asking yourself not, what can I achieve today? But how can I give my best today? It means measuring success not by the applause you receive, but by the integrity of your effort. It means shifting from, what will I get out of this? To, who am I becoming through this? Because when the obsession is the work, the results will eventually follow, but they won't own you. They won't define you. And that's the kind of freedom most people spend their entire lives searching for, but never find. So let me leave you with this. The world will always try to sell you the importance of results, but don't buy the lie. Results come and go, but the work remains. If you make results your God, they will fail you. But if you make the work your obsession, it will form you, it will strengthen you, and it will free you. Don't live for the mirage, live for the well. And if you do that, you'll find that fulfillment isn't waiting at the finish line. It's right there in the grind, in the process, in the work itself. When you think about identity, most people assume it comes from what they've accomplished. They point to the degree on the wall, the title at work, the balance in their account, the trophies on their shelf, or the number of people applauding them. But those things are surface markers. They are not the essence of who you are. They are outcomes, not origins. And if you confuse outcomes with identity, you build your life on a shaky foundation. Because as soon as the outcome changes, so does your sense of self. Lose the job, and suddenly you don't know who you are. Fail the exam, and you question your worth. Get overlooked for recognition, and your confidence crumbles. That's what happens when you root identity in results instead of in the work that shapes you. But identity forged in the work is different. When you commit to the process day after day, something inside you begins to shift. Every hour of discipline chisels away at your weaknesses. Every act of consistency builds a layer of strength. Every moment you choose perseverance over quitting, your character is being carved. And little by little, you begin to embody the very qualities success is made of. Discipline, patience, grit, resilience. Those aren't trophies you win. They are muscles you develop. They don't hang on a wall, they live inside your soul. And when your identity is forged this way, it doesn't rise and fall with circumstances. It's solid, it's grounded, it's unshakable. Think about the blacksmith hammering a piece of metal. With each strike, the metal is reshaped. With each pass through the fire, its strength is tested. The finished sword may be impressive, but the real story is the process it endured to become what it is. In the same way, your results are just the finished sword. Your identity is what was forged in the fire of the work. And that's why the work is so critical. It's not just what you do, it's what you become. Psychologically, this is a shift from external validation to internal transformation. Results depend on factors outside your control: timing, resources, competition, opportunity. But the work, your effort, your focus, your choices, that belongs entirely to you. And when you give yourself fully to the work, you anchor your identity in something that cannot be taken away. No one can rob you of your discipline. No one can strip away your persistence. No one can undo the hours you've poured into refining your craft. Those things are etched into your character, and they will follow you into every arena of life, regardless of the results you do or don't achieve. Philosophically, it's the difference between having and being. Results are about what you have: titles, possessions, recognition. Work is about who you are becoming, and in the long arc of life, being always outweighs having. History doesn't remember people for what they owned, it remembers them for who they were. And who you are is not written in results, but in the work that shaped you when nobody was looking. This is why people who achieve great things often feel empty when they arrive, because they've mistaken results for identity. They thought the title would define them, the award would complete them, the recognition would secure them. But once the applause fades, they're left wondering, who am I really? On the other hand, people who anchor their identity in the process never lose that sense of grounding. Whether the results are high or low, they remain steady because their worth isn't on trial. Their worth is already settled in the way they live, the way they work, the way they persevere. So here's the challenge: stop asking, what can I achieve to prove my value? And start asking, What kind of person am I becoming in the process? Because the truth is, identity isn't found at the finish line. It's forged mile by mile in the unseen steps, in the daily grind, in the work that nobody else celebrates. And if you commit to that, you'll find that results, when they come, will simply be evidence of who you've already become, not the source of your worth. Let me put it plainly, trophies tarnish, titles fade, applause dies down. But the discipline you build, the resilience you develop, the strength of character you form, those will carry you for a lifetime. And not just for you, but for the people who are watching you. Because whether you realize it or not, your process is shaping not only your life, but also the legacy you leave for others. And legacy is not built on results. It's built on identity forged in the work. Let's be honest, most people want the fruit without planting the seed. They want the victory without the training, the recognition without the repetition, the breakthrough without the grind. But the truth of life is this: greatness is not born in big moments. It's built in the small, often invisible, acts of daily discipline. And that's where so many miss it. They think success is some dramatic one-time event, when in reality, it's a slow accumulation of consistent choices made day after day, long before anyone notices. Daily discipline is the silent architect of transformation. It doesn't shout, it doesn't sparkle, it doesn't make headlines, but it is relentless. When you commit to doing the small things with faithfulness, those small things multiply into strength you didn't know you had. You don't become excellent by accident. You don't develop resilience overnight. You build them in the hidden hours. The mornings you show up when you don't feel like it. The evenings you push through when no one is clapping for you. The repetition that seems mundane is what separates those who dream of success from those who embody it. Psychologically, discipline rewires the mind. Every act of consistency tells your brain, this is who I am. And over time, your identity shifts. You're no longer someone trying to be disciplined. You become a disciplined person. That's powerful, because once discipline becomes part of your identity, it stops being negotiable. You don't wake up asking, do I feel like it today? You wake up knowing, this is what I do. Discipline turns effort into instinct, and instinct into strength. Philosophically, daily discipline is about aligning yourself with the truth that meaningful change is incremental. We live in a culture obsessed with shortcuts, with quick hacks, with instant gratification. But shortcuts don't shape character. Easy victories don't deepen your soul. The long, steady road of discipline does. It humbles you because progress feels slow. It stretches you because it forces patience. It refines you because you can't fake consistency. And that's why it's so powerful. Because it changes not just what you accomplish, but who you are in the process. And here's the paradox: the very thing that feels so small, so unimpressive in the moment, is what builds the foundation for results that are massive later. The workout you almost skipped, the page you almost didn't write, the practice session you almost blew off. Those are the hidden building blocks of greatness. Results are public, but discipline is private. Results are celebrated, but discipline is endured. And yet, without discipline, the results never come. If you look at the lives of people who accomplished extraordinary things, you'll notice a pattern. It wasn't their talent alone, though talent helps. It wasn't their resources alone, though resources matter. It was their ability to commit to daily discipline long after the excitement wore off. Talent may open the door, but discipline keeps you in the room. Inspiration might light the fire, but discipline keeps it burning. That's why discipline is more powerful than motivation, because motivation is a mood, and moods fade. Discipline is a decision, and decisions last. Now let's bring this closer to home. Discipline isn't just about work, fitness, or study. It applies to your character, your relationships, your spiritual life. Choosing to speak with integrity when lying would be easier. That's discipline. Choosing to listen when you'd rather talk. That's discipline. Choosing to love when bitterness would feel more natural. That's discipline. The same principle applies across every area of life. Who you become is determined by the choices you repeat. And if you can be faithful in the small, daily acts, the larger vision of your life will take care of itself. So I want you to stop underestimating the power of what looks insignificant. Stop dismissing the daily grind as unimportant. Every small act of discipline is a seed, and those seeds compound over time. One day you'll wake up and realize the person you've become was shaped not by one big leap, but by 1,000 small steps you chose to take when it didn't seem to matter. And here's the freeing part. You don't have to control the results. You don't have to know exactly when or how the breakthrough will come. Your job is to keep showing up for the work, to stay faithful in the discipline. Because in the end, results are not your responsibility. Discipline is. And the paradox of discipline is that by focusing on the small, you unlock the large. By giving yourself to the unseen, you set yourself up for the unforgettable. One of the greatest burdens people carry is the constant pressure to control outcomes. We plan, we strategize, we measure ourselves by whether things unfold the way we hoped. And when they don't, we collapse into frustration or despair. But here's the truth. Outcomes are never fully in your hands. You can influence them, yes. You can prepare, you can work, you can give your best. But you can't dictate every factor. You don't control the market. You don't control the timing. You don't control how others respond. Which means if you build your peace on outcomes, you will always live on shaky ground. Detaching from outcomes doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop chaining your worth and your joy to something you were never meant to control. Think about it. The very moment you release your obsession with results, you free yourself. Because now, instead of living for applause or recognition, you can pour your energy into the work itself. You can throw yourself into the process with total presence, knowing that the work has value regardless of whether the outcome meets your expectations. That's the secret most people never learn. They think freedom comes when they finally reach the result. But true freedom comes when you no longer need the result in order to validate the effort. Psychologically, this shift is powerful. When you tie your sense of success to outcomes, you live in constant anxiety, always anticipating, always waiting, always evaluating. It's like living with a weight around your neck. But when you tie your sense of success to effort, to faithfulness, to the integrity of the work, suddenly you breathe easier. You realize that failure in results is not failure in identity. You may miss the goal, but you didn't miss the growth. And in that growth lies a kind of success no scoreboard can measure. Philosophically, detachment is not apathy. It's alignment. It's acknowledging the limits of your control and choosing to find fulfillment in what you can control. You can't guarantee the harvest, but you can choose to keep planting. You can't force the applause, but you can choose to sing the song anyway. You can't make people understand you, but you can choose to live with integrity regardless. That's the essence of freedom, shifting from a life defined by outcomes to a life defined by obedience to the work. And here's what happens when you make that shift. You discover joy in places you never noticed before. Suddenly, the act of writing the page, practicing the instrument, showing up for the workout, becomes fulfilling in itself. You're not rushing past the moment, anxiously waiting for validation. You're living in the moment, savoring the very act of becoming. When the pressure of outcomes is lifted, you are free to give your best without fear. Free to risk because failure doesn't define you. Free to persevere because your progress is not erased by setbacks. Free to create because the joy is in the creating, not just in the finished product. Think about an artist who paints. If their entire worth is tied to whether someone buys the painting, then every brushstroke is heavy with fear. But if the artist paints because they love the act itself, then the canvas becomes a space of freedom. Results may come or go, but the joy is already complete in the process. That's how life is meant to be lived. This doesn't mean you stop pursuing goals. It means you stop worshiping them. Goals are helpful. They give direction, they provide clarity. But they are not gods. They cannot define you. When you release them from that throne, you can finally pursue them with healthy detachment. You work hard, you aim high, you give your best, but your soul is not enslaved to the outcome. And ironically, it's often when you let go that results come more freely. Because now you're not strangling the process with fear. You're flowing in it with freedom. So let me challenge you here. What is it in your life that you've been holding on to too tightly? Where have you made the outcome an idol? Is it the approval of people? The numbers in your account? The recognition of your peers? What would it look like for you to say, I'm going to give my best, but I refuse to let this outcome define me? Because once you can say that, you'll find a strength you didn't know you had. Freedom doesn't come from results. It comes from release. And once you release the need to control outcomes, you discover the peace of living fully present in the work. That peace can't be shaken by failure, can't be stolen by disappointment, and can't be inflated by success. It's steady, it's secure, it's real.